guys. Andrew Wilson has finally decided to respond in a 34-minute video, and he addresses from what it looks like everything. He has timestamps, guys. There are timestamps. We are just going to get right into it, but very quickly, I wanted to say I made 5 reactions to his situation. Never posted one because in my heart of hearts, it's like God was telling me, just wait for this guy to respond. I got so much respect for the guy. I just really wanted to give him his chance. So there's no better video to respond to than his. I know it may sound like a bias, but I've seen all the other ones. You've seen all the other ones. Let's see what his defense is, because my whole point is, my whole contingency with him in this case is the hypocrisy. So if he's able to address that, then fair game. We're right back to where we left off. So subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get to it.
But I'm just going to clear the air.
We gotta go
to do this response video because there's lots of people slinging lots of allegations at me at the moment. Some are pretty funny and some are just stupid. This happens to me probably once a year. People going ape about something that I've done. I've done kind of viral video after viral video after viral video.
The pickle jar one, not so bad. The other one that he said, the first one with the chubbier chick, that was more like an additive of context to the situation. The big one was the one with Charlie, guys. That is the one that we are waiting for, but he's going to go down the line here. So
but I'm just going to clear the air on a couple of things because some of the attacks that come at me are just bizarre, and I don't even understand them. So before we get into that, the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is well poisoning. What poisoning the well means is that people will attempt to, before you have any message that you ever commit to or say, or any debate that you're ever in, to somehow try to make you look bad or make your position look unsound or something like this before the position is ever even stated. That's what poison.
It's like almost those piece of craps that talk crap about you to people that never really met you. So those people have this bad implication about you, but they never actually asked you. So then when they finally meet you and they say something like, oh, you actually are a good person, that usually means someone told you were a bad person. Gotta really watch out who you keep around your circle.
The well is most of the trivial attacks, which have been coming at me from TikTok. And by the way, they've been coming at me on TikTok for years. This is nothing new. Are based around that specifically. They're based around the idea of well poisoning. So as we get into the video, just remember that if you come into it thinking that there's some perceived issues that you didn't know about before or something like this, it's likely that you are the victim of well poisoning. Somebody has tried to poison the well with rage bait or something else. Sure. And so you're unclear about my position on multiple issues. So I'm going to clarify a bunch of those today. I've been meaning to do this for a while. I didn't have time for a long time to do it, but now I do. First and foremost,
I could believe that because with as heatful as it is, he was either trying to wait for it to die down, which I doubt it will. This is something that will stay in your career. You gotta have to jump on it when it's hot. And he waited. So he probably was busy, or he genuinely is just confident in what his response is going to be. And I'm curious on what it's going to be. A lot of the stuff I never really believed. I watched this guy for a long time. It's just the hypocrisy about hiding the situation with Rachel, or just kind of keeping it under wraps. Because it's been out there, guys. It's been out there. Triologic and a lot of people have been talking about this for years. It's just not putting it out in the forefront while you're roasting the women. So I say that again. That is my only contingency. Hopefully he brings it.
Foremost, let's discuss the politics of personal destruction. The idea behind this is there are people who, well, they're somewhat considered unassailable. Perhaps they are very difficult to tangle with. They may have very good positions, very good views, or be very popular due to the fact that the way that they're able to orate and disseminate those views gets picked up by a lot of people. So what happens often online and in the political realm is the politics of personal destruction comes into play. The basic idea here is that, hey, this person over here is a bad guy based on whatever the perceived sins are of his personal life or her personal life. And so they mercilessly attack
Rachel.
those arenas because they can't actually contend with anything that person is saying. And so most of the trivial attacks against me are always based around this. It's always based around the politics of personal destruction, though often it has the opposite effect of what the detractors want. I still think that it's worth using this opportunity to clarify a multitude of positions that people are under very wrong impressions of. The first one that we need to get into is red pill. Andrew is a red pillar, is primary criticism
Never
that you'll
thought he
see of
was. It
me
doesn't make sense.
from various
Christian
hit
man, it's
pieces
antithetical to
online
the faith.
that I'm a red pill content creator, or that I in some way represent red pill ethics or red pill anything. The opposite is actually true. I'm a Christian ethicist, and I always view debates from the position of Christian ethics, always. Now, my audience and fan base knows this. However, people can use select clips in order to make it appear that that is not the case. But I'm going to demonstrate for you with clips that it is, in fact, the case. And
See my clips before he does that, guys. You got to think about it like this: being a Christian is almost like antithetical to what these individuals in the red pill like to kind of claim. Now, some of them will claim to be Christians, but you know, anyone can be a Christian, anyone can follow a denomination. But do you actually walk in your faith? And that's really where the big kicker comes into play. And Andrew, more or less, you know, as I say, there's some things that are hypocritical, but he does walk with the faith. He has always stated that he was a Christian ethicist, whatever he's calling it, and he attacks the points, or he'll disagree with the points while he's on those said podcasts. It's just, if you think about it, the left side or the right side, the podcast is lean more on a more, I guess, like religious following or traditional following, right? Which aligns with faith in a certain sense, right? So that, I think that's where people get the confusion from. But on those specific points that come off really red pilly, he usually is the antithesis to that. Just
that
throwing that
I've been
out there.
very consistent on this point from day one.
There's some overlap.
The reason that I tangle up inside of the manosphere and red pill spaces at all is specifically because I'm arguing and debating with their prescriptions.
Even
Usually
there.
pickup artistry, sleeping with lots of women, promiscuity, abortion, or male feminism, various things like this, which come out of some of that red pill content space. So the first thing we need to do is look, and let me show you the clips, which will prove beyond all doubt that this is a completely made up hoax.
Let him
And
show
this
them not
hoax
to
is
say
designed
something.
specifically around, again, the politics of personal destruction.
I'm not one of these red pill PUA teachers who writes some kind of program and tries to sell it online. I'm a political commentator, a political pundit, and a political debater. How could you ever say that you craft a better society than I, as a Christian ethicist, would craft?
My view, I'm a Christian ethicist, and I focused on politics, and specifically politics. Now, let me explain my positions on red pill and explain my positions on the manosphere in general, as though my audience knows all of this. Many newcomers coming in likely don't. But again, this is consistent across my content for years. So let's start with what the position is. The position is that Christian ethics are superior to all other ethical purviews and worldviews. And that's where I argue from. That's the position that I always argue from.
Now, the issue, Andrew, I believe, is that although this can be true, and if you do focus on the podcast, or you actually watch the podcasts in their entirety, not just the little clips, he does do this, but you do more attacking of the women. It gets you more clicks, it gets you more rage, whatever it is. And I'm not saying that is the reason why he's doing it, but you tend to find the narration of these podcasts, let's say the whatever, is more so to attack the women, not the men. Not the men going for those type of women. It lost its focus on that and really was heavily focused on where the algorithm is going to push the videos. Roasting women. So it's kind of like you got lost in the sauce in that. That's why people may not know, or they're not able to understand to the degree that you do come from a Christian standpoint, and a lot of the red pill stuff you disagree with since it's antithetical to the faith, especially if they're secular.
Can there be some overlap? with
Yeah.
other worldviews?
Yes.
Yes. That's every worldview which exists. There's probably going to be some kind of overlap.
Mhm.
An example of this is red pillars really hate feminists a
Mhm.
lot. At least many red pillars do. And I debate often against feminism, again, from a Christian worldview. And I utilize arguments which have been picked up all over the internet, like force doctrine and things like this,
Yep.
which I interjected into the ethos to help as a weapon against feminism.
You really did. You really
One of
did
the
push force
major
doctrine.
issues here that the reason I think I get conflated with the
I do believe you
manosphere
don't.
red pillars and things like this, because I do some debates in that sphere. Remember that this accounts for very little of my content, by the way, but a
True.
lot of that stuff does end up going viral because people are interested in it, but it accounts for very little of my content. I'm actually the only one who does this. That's why I get conflated often with red pill positions and red pillars themselves, is because I'm the only Christian ethicist that I'm aware of who will actually go into these spaces and argue and
Mhm.
dismantle red pill talking points and red pill nonsense. The only one that I'm aware of. I literally have never seen another one, and I've tried. I've tried to open the door for more to come in, but I've never actually one. I've never seen another one in there arguing with these guys. So the way I got involved in that space to begin with was, a lot of these red pillars and various people like this were kind of getting brutalized by, the Matt Walshes of the world and this and that. They had a kind of brutal fight going on back and forth, and most of them would not step into the arena on the Christian ethicist side in order to combat any of these talking points and in order to
Matt
combat any
Walsh
of
is
these worldviews. I happen to be a person who
he
was
aligns
willing
with
to do
another
that.
type of faith.
And so,
Say
as a
that.
side effect of that, I was able to earn the respect of many
Whether
of
he knows
the
it or
red pill
not.
content creators. That's true. But not because they agree with my positions. Rather, it's due to the fact that I come in with logical arguments and utilize Christian ethics and battle their worldviews. And I've managed to change a lot of minds about this particular worldview. And they know that. And so, it's when you battle with people for long enough, often you end up earning their respect. It's a side effect of this. But I have never been, nor will ever be, a red pillar. I'm a Christian ethicist, and all the proof is there for anybody who wants to actually look at that hoax as well. Another very common attack.
That is fair. Now, you also have to grant some credence to the individuals who make that presumption, because when you're on these podcasts, you almost have to fall in line with the trajectory of what the podcast, let's say whatever, for instance, right? Literally, Brian has an itinerary. He has an itinerary he follows each time, as you know, oh, it's 9 o'clock. We should be doing this, 7 o'clock. Like one of those party planners, those boring party planner people. I do like the organization of the podcast. I really do. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. Let's do roasting and stuff. I think that gets a little bit too far. You should have it more open. But in any case, when you have to fall in line with that, it just may not allot you enough room to showcase the Christian ethicists, right? The ethics of Christianity. It's more so if there is a point that gets brought up that's like, let's say the red pill stance, and you can, throw a Christian aspect towards it, another way of looking at it, sure. But often when I see these things, it's just more so getting at the women for being debaucherous, right? And it's not his fault. That's like where the podcast is leaning. That's where the algorithm is going to push it. Those are the questions Brian's asking, things like that. So I feel as if he always has made the stance of who he is. He's a Christian ethicist, but it just, the podcast itself doesn't allot the ability to fully showcase that enough where people could distinguish you from that to being a red pillar, especially since you're on a red pill podcast, right? And we're talking about like TikTok brain individuals watching clips. So I'm not justifying how they're viewing it. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying what's obvious, right? Just that's
that
the
you
optics.
see levied against me, and you'll see it in the titles of almost all of these videos, is alpha male does X, and then it has me, or alpha male gets destroyed, and then it has me, or alpha male does this, and then it has me. But this is a caricature. It doesn't represent me at all.
Fair.
I've never claimed anything like this. But not only that,
What YouTube is, though,
I had a
people
very
gotta get them
famous
clicks.
interaction with a gentleman named Wes Watson, where
Oh my gosh, that
where I
one.
gave a complete and total and thorough debunking of materialism where I rejected materialism, rejected this idea of alpha male nonsense.
My definition of success is having a family, having
I
children,
remember this, man. He was
and
on
being
point.
part of the apparatus
This
of
is
the
just
world.
spaz
And
head loser.
true wealth is a rejection of materialism. As Christ said himself, what good does it benefit a man to gain the entire world at the cost of his soul? And essentially, when I think of wealth, I think of materialism. It's okay to have materialism. It's not against Christian ethics to become rich, become wealthy. But I just think it's all beside the point, ultimately.
And also, here's a clip of me doing the exact same thing where I changed Brian at Whatever Podcast Mind about alpha male hierarchies as well. And he went and looked at the literature that I had given him about the, false wolf connection with a bunk study.
On the whole alpha beta thing, this originated in someone who did a study on wolves, but it actually was totally debunked. There's more nuance to this whole the categorization in wolf packs, for example, than an alpha.
Yeah, it's not so easily broken down into just alpha and betas. Yeah. So,
but it is somewhat helpful a little bit. But
and I've always claimed that alpha hierarchies are nonsense. So the idea of like alpha male does this and that's all clickbait. Not only have I never presented myself that way ever, but it's,
let's just say if you call yourself an alpha, you are that G word, and I don't want to say because I'm not trying to make fun of those individuals, but you're gay. Like, you just in the funny sense, not in the actual literal sense. Like, you're just a loser. Like, if you have to call yourself any type of title, that's some sort of fragility. Usually confident people, it showcases with their demeanor very little of what they say. You're not supposed to call yourself something, right? And these people are just using it as rage clicks to get a bunch of incel individuals or weak-minded individuals to feel some sort of power. And if that gets you to the point where you grow some level of balls or confidence, some cojones, then more power to you. But then strip the word away from your vocabulary as quickly as you can, because women in the real world hear that shit and they're just going to run from you. You'll be just looked at as a misogynist, whether you are or not. So just be wise with your words. He's definitely not one, nor should anyone should be.
Attack me instead.
Be confident.
Because I don't fit any of those boxes. I'm not like a gym nut or overtly aggressive or various things like this. I'm just not. I can be aggressive in debates sometimes. Things get heated, but I've never been in this stupid made up category. And the proof is there that I never have been. So ultimately, this is another attack which is designed around creating a caricature of me and then attacking that. And unfortunately, you can rage bait clips and make anything appear like anything. So another major criticism which is levied against me, this one is really silly, is that I give men advice, that I do some sort of advice giving to men and tell them that they should follow in my footsteps, or that I have life figured out, or something like this. I understand where this criticism comes from as well. This criticism is levied because many people who are in the manosphere space run various advice courses and pick up dating courses and various things like this. Of course, most notably, Andrew Tate did something similar to this. I don't know all the details specifically, but it's a very common thing. And so because of that, there's a natural assumption that I must be doing the same thing, that I'm trying to teach men how to be, I don't know, great pickup artist gurus or some crazy nonsense like this. None of it's true. In fact, the opposite is true. I purposefully go out of my way not to give advice. That's not what I'm here for. I'm only here to represent a worldview and nothing more. Again, here's clips and proof of me saying over and over again, don't ask me for advice. I don't give advice. I don't do advice. So this is another criticism which is easily debunked, another hoax which has been orchestrated by my bad faith critics.
You would actually ask for advice, you'd be able to give it.
I don't.
No?
Why? So from my perspective,
Yeah. You don't want
exactly. Well, it's not just they don't want to their life, but I think that unless you intricately know a person's situation from the inside out, and it takes a long time to do that.
Yes.
To really get to know a person, that any advice you give them is likely going to be bad unless it's basic. The reason, so I'm very cautious about giving advice to people, and here's why.
That was a base take. That was so base. You always want to speak in generalities when giving advice to individuals unless you specifically know them, because not all shoes fit one. And that's the whole red pill situation where it's at the detriment of them preaching to people, oh, work and just do this and then go to the gym and go to bro, there's so many of those things that don't apply with everybody. Some people don't have the ability to go to the gym due to some form of defect. Some people are just not ruffians that know how to chop a girl or, you know, pull game on a girl because they're just genuine people. Not nice necessarily, genuine. And that type of actions are antithetical to who they are. So it would work to their detriment, right? And it actually may end up them coming off corny, trying to force an action or a way of being that's antithetical to them, right? And you don't want to be the person that puts that on them, because if they take this negative outlook on it and now they're just depressed or something, it's technically on you. But the red pill individuals don't care because they're just going to make money off of you. They're selling you courses. As long as you pay them, it doesn't matter. They did their job, right? So you also got to make sure you learn how to take that information correctly, but it should be on the individual that wants to be a coach to understand. Like a personal trainer, they're going to work with that individual specifically on their specific way of working out. It's not one shoe fits all. So, you know, he's cooking there.
Okay.
The first reason I'm very cautious about giving advice to people is because I think it's actually mostly irresponsible unless you really know a lot about that person's personal situation, their family dynamics, their income, all sorts of different factors, that I could actually give you advice that would be detrimental to you.
What age of men do you give advice to, Andrew?
I don't give advice to men. Now, I wanted to cover as well that I have never strayed away from my message. Again, hostile environment after hostile environment, and I have been in them, you know, doing debates and battling with people for years. So there's nothing new on this particular front. But again, the idea that that I have some changing message or something like that is just silly. I've always stayed on the same exact message, which is to battle these people from the viewpoint of Christian ethics. And so I'm usually on the pull point saying, no, all this stuff is bad. And what they would have us do is leave ourselves at the mercy of having these things kind of go unchallenged and unopposed. And it's due to the fact that I oppose these various degenerate things such as prostitution, you know, sexuality and other things like this. That I'm under such consistent and constant attack from both the left and then the kind of weaker Christian factions who refuse to engage at all in any of these spaces, and thus leaving them completely unchecked. The next criticism, and this one is probably the most amusing for the Crucible audience and for me, the thing that I have been most attacked for years has been the fact that I have stepchildren. This has been for years and years and years what the attack is. And that's not going away. That's always been the primary vector.
So here's the thing, man. I just want to cook on this early. It's not that you have stepchildren. He has been open about this. You don't have to go around telling everybody, I have stepchildren. Before I start this, I'm going to say I have stepchildren. No, you don't have to necessarily do that. It's more so how you have those stepchildren, the 3 baby daddy thing, you know, the multiple, you know, that type of stuff, you know, Rachel's situation, which is her own personal situation. You guys kind of came off like you were hiding it, right? It really, really came off like you were hiding it. It wasn't as out there as, you know, a lot of people would have wanted it to be, especially since you kind of go about making fun of certain individuals, like women on those fronts, right? It just came off a bit hypocritical. You know, usually when people are, let's say, if you are a murderer, for instance, and you're a reformed murderer, usually you're going to start the conversation with, I used to do this thing, murder, right? But then I came out of jail, I learned from it, and yada, yada, and then you write a book and all that good stuff. It's almost like it wouldn't have gotten brought up, or it only gets brought up when someone calls it out. And even then, it's kind of fair because it's like you're not trying to shoot yourself in the foot. But in your field, when you're literally roasting women for the almost similar things to what Rachel has gone through, not saying each walk was the same, but you'll probably find them talking down on someone simply because they have multiple baby daddies. not into the context, just simply because, right? And I don't have it at the top of my head, but I've watched a lot of them. And even though if you're pushing a good message, the fact that it came off like you were hiding it, that's one thing. The reaction that you gave when, you know, the Charlie chick or whatever you want to call her called you out, that's another thing I want him to address, because aside from everything, aside from Rachel's personals, their family personals, it did get you. I've watched so many of this guy's debates. He never cracks. He never cracks. The reason why it became viral, in my opinion, is because it showed a chink in his armor. And he's really good at not showing that. So people were genuinely curious to say, wow, she got him. Overall, the debate, did she win? Probably not. We didn't watch all of it. But no one cares about the debate. They care about the viral moment. And she got you. She got you in a moment. You were kind of spurging out. You were making excuses in the moment. She got you overheated. When you're overly emotional, you're not in your logic. You got to catch yourself again. And for someone who I guess was new to hearing that information come out the way it did, if that makes any sense, he kind of handled it not bad in that regards, but overall for who you are, it was a fumble, man. It was a fumble, and it was hypocritical that you couldn't admit it was a fumble when you call people out for this. And that's my only contingency with him. This part here really is just the hypocrisy. What I see as the hypocrisy. That's it.
For the politics of personal destruction, because I am conflated as being a red pillar by laymen who aren't familiar with my content. This is the primary mode of attack. And the goal of this is to try to turn certain audience segments against me, because many people are against, a person being a step parent or various things like this, which I understand. I understand the position well. But the fact that people think that I've tried to hide this is crazy. Not only is that not the case, but this is such a bad faith hoax that it's easily dismissed. In fact, here's a clip of me the very first time I was on Fresh and Fit in front of a massive red pill audience, giving kind of a bit of backstory when they asked me these questions, of me explaining that I have stepchildren and that my wife had 2 previous relationships with which children.
He's always stated that. He essentially is making the case that he's one of the good ones, right? He's one of the good ones. He's going to turn that situation into a better one. But are you going to risk your eggs in one basket on finding another Andrew Wilson? That's kind of like the mantra that he's taken on, which fair game. He has come out and said that. He's never necessarily knocked the possibility of finding a good person who is a single parent or take on a single mom. He literally is that person, right? So it'd be crazy for him to totally hide it. Now, here's what I don't like. This is what I don't like. See how he was doing the word salad? She had 2 different partners with kids before him. 2. He just said 1, the high school sweetheart, and even added that as a tidbit to kind of justify it, like, well, that was her first love. Everyone fucks up on an early age, which is true. So it's how you're spinning it. Because then if you just said, well, then after when she got out, she got with a second nigga, then had to kill with that dude, and then I came in, they probably would have threw a roast at you. And you were kind of fearful of that, so you kind of hit that second situation. There was 2 before you. That's the problem. You're kind of trying to hide it or just mitigate the what people would call as an L, when really your whole stance, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, you were the right baby daddy to come in and fix the situation. You were the good case. If you're going to call people out for that or call women out for it, you have to be fully honest. So although he did come out and say it, I think it's almost like, well, if you just did not say it and you try hiding it, well, all true things come to light, right? We're of faith. That's what God says. Everything's going to come up from the sun, or whatever the saying is. So you knew you had to disclose something, but you kind of curtailed it. You kind of, right? Just 1 high school sweetheart, well, there was another one too, right? And I waited a bit to see if he'd say it. They're talking now. I doubt he's going to say it in this clip.
Yeah, I don't even know where this attack comes from. But it's completely bad faith, and it's a total hoax, and it's completely made up. Now, oftentimes when I'm on shows, people will send in like super chat trolls and things like this, which I'll ignore or dismiss or say I don't know what you're talking about, because they're trolling. You know what I mean? They're trolling. But this is no secret. and it's never been a secret, and nobody's ever attempted
I
to
can
hide
grant
it.
him that if he's gonna come on
What's to hide?
national, a bigger
I'm
show,
very
he'll come out and
happy
say it.
with my stepchildren. I consider them my children, always have, and I'm very happy with my own
God
children.
bless.
So, on that, like, kind of you. It's a pretty thing to try to dunk on me for, by the way. Now, another big criticism.
That is true. At the end of the day, to call someone out for picking up the slack for somebody else and doing a good job at it, it's a little weird. But once again, Andrew, it's really comes down to it's because you're doing that to the others. We would have to pull a compilation on any time he called someone out, a single mom for taking on, the dad, or a single dad, whatever the case may be, taking on a single mom, and see how he played out in all those situations. At any point in time, if you kind of made your stance on it and not granted the credence of that situation, that relationship may have been like yours, the guy was an upstanding guy, or the girl, I don't know, she wasn't a crazy chick, or whatever the case may be, then you're in the clear. But just from the top of my head, with me finding this out kind of in the back end, with someone exposing, or just came up on my algorithm, or one of your haters or something, right? It still kind of came off like, once again, you're trying to not really bring it out in the forefront, and then you're calling people out almost for the same thing, if that makes any sense. But I don't know for sure. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because I watch Andrew in his debates, and he's pretty straightforward on his points of views, right? He says overall that dating a single mom may not be the right idea. A man who has resources that is coming up should try to find someone who isn't of that status, right? But is it possible? Yes, and he has said that. I can't knock that. Once again, my only point of contingency is you kind of tried to hide it. You kind of like, it's like you didn't fully hide it, but where you could not bring it up to kind of get away with your points of views, you would take advantage of that. And then if we're gonna remove Andrew, Rachel does debates. Rachel goes even harder on women and calls women out. So it would be even more hypocritical for Rachel to be in a debate and not use that as a preface. It should be in a preface of all of her instances where she calls out women of single motherhood. Always. Like, hey, I was one of them, but hey, I can't say but. Hey, just preface it. If she's hiding it, I think it's even worse. It's because it's the pot calling the kettle black. It really is. And like, I'm not out here saying right or wrong. I've never attacked. I've made 5 videos, never posted one. Right? Because I was waiting for this. So I hope I'm being as fair as I can. But I'm still seeing forms of hypocrisy. Or else this would be a nothing burger then. If it was as open as it was with you guys telling the truth and telling it what it is, I don't think it wouldn't be as much as a contingency. Because even the people who don't follow you that much would have saw a clip of you defending it. Or someone would have made a compilation of you defending this situation or bringing it up or whatever the case may be. It's all coming out now. Usually means this was something that was swept under the rug, more or less.
This happens often.
This was a bad sweep.
Continuous criticism is that because I don't generally talk about my personal life and never have, because I don't know what the hell that has to do with anything, that somehow I'm being nefarious and hiding things and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, there's a distinction between hiding something and keeping things private because they're none of anybody's business. But the second thing on this is nobody is ever looking to get more information about my personal life because they want good things for me. What the entire goal always is to take various, details in order to attack and assault family members, to commit to harassment campaigns of family members, and to basically do anything possible to harass people that I know or am or family or various things like this. And that's what all that it is. That's all that it's ever been. And so, of course,
No, my gosh. See, once again, he's not wrong. It's almost like he's not going to be wrong in anything he's saying necessarily, but he's missing the point. You're throwing stones in a glass house, in a sense. You get into people's personal life. Maybe not directly personal, right? But you're probing people's lives. I just did a reaction with that chick who apparently got her husband to delete himself, and rightfully so. That's something that, I don't mind probing in. If she's an evil individual that prompted someone to self-delete, yeah, probe on that. but you're still probing. You're still probing in that person's personal life, even to the point where that other feminist chick, the Arab looking one, interjected, because she even felt like, yo, you're kind of prying a little deep into this girl's personal life. He has done it, and he's done it many times. That's where people's contingencies are. You are granted that ability to shut up, don't talk, I don't have to talk about my personal life. Fair. If you're not someone who freaking gets into other people's personal lives. If you've never dug into it, if you've never really tried to do that, if you've always been vague and just stuck, because in his debates, yeah, he doesn't really pry on people's personal lives. It's a debate. It's very orchestrated. But when you go on those red pill podcasts, it's literally what these guys do. They prey on these women. They attack these women. They get in the nitty gritty. They try to get the answer out of these women to make them look more stupid. And you almost fall short of that because that's the layout of the podcast. Does he do it to the degree of the other people? Absolutely not. He's a Christian ethicist. He's not a red pillar. But I don't have it at the top of my head. I recant him doing this. With the one example I just gave with the person who, the woman who self-deleted. Go check my channel. Go check my channel. I posted it, right? It's going to be on there. You'll see it. That's prying into this person's personal life. It is, right? And it can't be the first time that you've done it. So that's where the issue is. You're throwing stones in glass houses. You're not wrong, but at the same time, you're not right, since you kind of do that yourself, if that makes any sense. The hypocrisy is where I'm getting at. It's a little bit hypocritical.
I don't talk much about myself and never have online.
Rightfully
and
so.
I don't talk much about my children online, and don't talk
Rightfully
much
so.
about anybody who's
Right
connected
move
to
to
me
make.
personally online. That's generally speaking a very bad idea. People will take facts and twist them to their own bidding, even if
Agreed.
none of them are true. And when you combat that, the whole point of it is to get you to combat that with counterfactuals. And then that way they can take those and twist those as well. And then you combat those with counterfactuals. And before you know it, that's all you're doing with your life, is just combating rumor mongering lunatics. So I'm not even going to mention any of these people who continue, because just to mention them elevates them. But I'm not going to be talking about my personal life
You
ever.
put one of
It's
them,
not your
their
business.
comments
That's
in the
one.
beginning of the
And
video.
two, I don't really care what you think. It's not particularly important to me. It doesn't affect what I'm doing, which is debating and being an entertainer. But I'm not discussing those things. There's tons and tons of various family members and things like this, including my own children, and I don't make their lives public. It's obviously that can be, when you're an entertainer at my level, it can be very threatening to various people.
Facts.
And so I'm not doing it, and I'm not going to sit and tit and tat war with these trolls for infinity to try to assuage whatever doubts they have about whatever. You can think whatever you want. Like I don't care about. But I do want you to at least contend with the positions that I put out there. Now, another massive attack, which comes basically from uninformed hoaxers online, is the argument from hypocrisy, the tu quo. The idea here is that Andrew Wilson is a hypocrite,
That's my point.
he attacks single mothers, but married a single mother himself.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before. If Andrew Wilson met a woman like his wife with 3 baby daddies on the whatever podcast, he would shame her, call her a hoe, and tell her she's damaged goods and essentially unlovable. I want people to understand that they are hypocrites.
By the way, this is a self-defeating.
Before anything, I don't think he has ever taken that stance. I think that's another mix-up, since he's on those red pill podcasts, and that's something that Myron would say. And they just convoluted both of them together. He's on the podcast, they say it, therefore, the birds with the same feather flock together, whatever the case may be. I don't think he's ever taken that stance. If he ever was on there, he would be the person with the more middle ground stance. He's taking the stance that not all cases, since he is the case, it can turn out well, but statistically, it is not a good idea to do it. Is he wrong? He's not wrong. He always states the facts. See, I'm being very fair. I still think he has hypocritical stances since this has came out, but not to the degree where he's saying, not necessarily because he married a single mom. No. And you've even brought it up. You showcased it. I'm aware of this. It is just when you do pry and you go on there, it's almost like, as I said, if you are a scammer, right? Or if you are a past scammer, and then you start hosting classes about bro, what's his name? Jordan, whatever, the dude from Wolf on Wall Street, right? The Wolf on Wall Street guy. He wrote a book. He does seminars and all that type of stuff. And maybe he's still doing scams. I don't know. Allegedly, I have no idea. But it stems from the idea that you knew that he was a scammer. So now he's teaching people how to do things the right way, or at least that's the story he's selling, right? You usually preface the situation when you're gonna talk down on people for the same thing that you went through, right? And I get it, personal information, you don't need to bring it up, you don't need to bring it up. But other than your debates, when you're on these podcasts specifically, it's not a debate. It's like this attacking the individual, get some rage bait clicks kind of situations, and he doesn't go out to the same degree that these other people do on the podcast, right? He doesn't, but you still kind of do engage in it, right? It's almost like I engage in the fight, but I ain't curve stomping. I just slapped a nigga a couple times, bro. Just gave him a few slaps in his face. I didn't curve stomp him like the other guys, right? You're part of the fight. You're part of the fight, man. You know, it's
argument as why would I be attacking single mothers if I married a single mother? It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But just to give you some actual clips and insights here, right? So that you understand. Here's some clips of me talking about this in depth on these various programs with single moms. I don't attack them at all.
Yeah.
If a person has a terrible position, right, or they're advocating for some sort of evil degeneracy, perhaps prostitution, perhaps stripping, perhaps any number of various degenerate acts, which people tend to engage in and then move into the justification mode for, and then say those are good things or society should be moving towards these types of things, I will definitely attack those positions and often brutally. That's the purpose of debate. But to say that I attack women for just being single moms is insane, which is why it's never accompanied by clips of me doing that. Instead, you'll only find clips of me attacking positions. People often, they think that you're attacking them based on their situation. Yeah. When you're not really attacking them based on their situation, you're just explaining the distinction in risk assessment. You're like, look, if I'm going to advise somebody, if I were to tell a man, right, is it a good idea in 2024 to get together with a single mom if another choice was viable? The answer is definitely no. And what happens is, because they're in the situation where they themselves are a single mom, they see that as an attack. But it's not an attack. It's just showing, look, this is what is true. It's not the case that it may be true in your situation or anybody's situation, but there is like a statistic here that we can look to, that we can make these kind of general determinations off of based on outcomes. There could be all sorts of reasons why women find themselves in the conditional of being a single mother, which is totally acceptable. For instance, perhaps their husband abandoned them, or perhaps their husband died, or perhaps there's there was abuse going on in the relationship. There can be extremely good reasons for why this happens. And the criticism that Andrew thinks that you just can't ever be loved again because you're a single mom is absurd. And again, these clips will prove that that is the case. In fact, in this particular clip, the woman, as she was leaving the studio, gave me a big hug and said, "Thank you for the conversation. It was very kind of you to walk through these things with me." The position, in essence, is a nuanced one, and it just goes like this. It is the case that if you're a single mother, you're going to have significant dating challenges that non-single mothers aren't going to have. That's it. Also,
I know he's gonna get into it. I just want to state, like, this is such a good, sound-minded response. I do personally still think there's just a little bit of hypocrisy, and it's more so, I guess, the optics. It's the optics, right? It's the murderer turning around to roast on murderers. You have every right, because murder is bad. There's not going to be much cases where you bring out or call out someone for murdering and you're not going to be right. Almost any time you call it out, because it is objectively wrong. Whoring out is objectively wrong. OnlyFans is objectively wrong, right? But let's say Nala, for instance. Nala, if she came as this new Christian, whatever, and her angle was to be like Andrew, let's say, like just rough with it, calling out the points with just such viciousness, if that makes any sense. And I guess it's a little bit different in his particular case, but then it's just gonna come off. The optics will come off a little bit hypocritical. It comes off Like the pot calling the kettle black once again. Now, as I said, if you do watch his stuff, and it's just because I can't remember all of them, I do recant him not really being the one to ever go too hard on women on facts where you feel like they should have some form of justification there, if that makes any sense, some leeway, right? That's something more Myron or Fresh is gonna do because they're immature as shit. Brian may do it because, you know, this guy, like, I feel like he has some fragility. Like, someone hurt him. Someone definitely hurt him, and he's fighting through it. And now it's like F women and stuff. He's like the hidden black red pillar, you know, but he just has a podcast. I firmly do believe that. But Andrew has never really been the case. It's the optics. You're hanging out with a bunch of thugs and gangsters, and you're wondering why people are looking at you like thugs and gangsters. The optics, right? At least you have to understand, like, the reason why. It's not like, why could people possibly... No one's going to sit around and watch your debates like I do and like other people do that follow the crucible and stuff. They're not. They're going to see you on this show. It looks like you guys are all ganging up, and you come here with, like, all this logic and shit, and you're attacking these women with your own legitimate facts. It's based in reality, but the optics is you're just like the heavier, smarter hitter, right? You got the guy that curve stomps. You got the other guy that uses a bat. You know martial arts. You're cleaner with it. You're still kicking the person's ass. So I think it's like an optics thing. Is there a clip out there where it's going to show actual hypocrisy? Maybe. But I will grant him that more often than not, just his demeanor usually is more fair and concise than the other people, because he's a Christian ethicist, as he says. He speaks from the perspective of Christian ethics, which, if you know about Christianity, is Jesus. And Jesus, you're not really supposed to be doing much of that, you know, attacking people type of stuff. So, and that's a whole other level of hypocrisy that I would say, because if you read the story of Jesus and you read a few verses in the Bible, he does move a little antithetical to it. He takes this Old Testament look on life, at least his demeanor and how he goes about the situation. You're not supposed to shout and rage and call people out their name. You're not supposed to be judgmental. Many times Jesus says you're not supposed to be judgmental. Do you call people out like Jesus? He was kind, but you're not kind the way you do it. And I know it won't be hard for me to pull out a verse that showcases the way he does it is too rough. It's too rough. You could bring out a fact. You could be like that helpful person, but, you know, the way he does it, you know, it just sometimes comes off a little different how Jesus taught it. There's a little, you know, that Jesus didn't say just be lukewarm and be weak. No, speak your truths, but you can speak your truth without doing it in the demeanor that he does it. I don't mind because I like the entertainment. He's an entertainer at the same time. He has to mix both in there. Even though it says we're not supposed to jest, we're not supposed to joke, we're not supposed to make raunchy humor. There's a whole bunch of stuff we're not supposed to do. There's more sins than you could even imagine. So I'm not going to say and ask the guy to be perfect. But since he's so close within the faith, and he should be more aware of this than me, I'm not as read in the Bible as he probably is. That's where I'm more so sticking on those points. It's like, man, toeing the line between entertainer and then a Christian ethicist following Christian ethics. I see some overlap sometimes. I just see some overlap, and I would love to have a conversation with him if it ever came to be, right? Just to kind of go over that. But overall, he's winning on this one. He is winning on this response because there wasn't much of a loss. I just thought she got you. Charlie got you. She got you in that moment, whether you said it before it came out, it was a known fact. You didn't expect for it to come out like that. And maybe you could say it was a low blow. They were attacking family over you, but you don't get to choose the level of force someone retaliates with. I think that's fair to say. If you slap someone in the face, they're probably going to punch the shit out of you. You slap a martial artist in the face, you're getting cross-kicked in the fucking face. Oh, I better just slap him back. No. If you hit me, I'm going to fucking Joe Rogan spin kick you and break your fucking spleen. And it's going to happen within 2 seconds. If you've ever seen a video of me doing it, within less than a second, I can let that thing off. So it is within the realm of self-defense in the moment. But it's going to demolish your rib cage. So you just don't get to choose the force in which people come and hit you back with. And I think he would agree with that too. So you got to be understanding, you know, you got to be a little understanding. But overall, for all the unjust attacks that the people are throwing at him, not justified. Not justified.
So that there's going to be a lot of men whose preference is that they're not with a mother who has children already, because that opens up all sorts of avenues for things that they would have to deal with baggage-wise that they would not have to ordinarily with women who are not single moms. How does that position equate to don't date a single mom, or that's bad to do, or things like that? Or I have no idea. because
well, it doesn't, bud.
whether or not in 2025 I would say I recommend it would have nothing to do with the bearing on the fact that there's plenty of good women out there who are single mothers who are in that position, not through any fault of their own. There's also a lot who are, and those are the facts. So for me to give the basic position and the obvious position, which is that it's going to limit options inside of your love life, I don't think is anything which is newsworthy or I don't think that take should break the internet. It's pretty obvious. And by the way, as a step parent myself, who would have more kind of experience to speak on something like that than me, or my wife having been in that position herself to speak on those issues. Of course, she's going to speak on those issues.
That's the issue, though. She speaks on it with not really bringing it up in the forefront, prefacing that she is the individual that she is calling out. Maybe not to the degree of these other women, because her certain circumstance, as you would say it is, those guys were the problem, right? I'm just going to go off of their words. It seems as if she thought she was with the right person and those people weren't the right people. Let's say we grant that. I still feel like Rachel specifically, not Andrew, because at the end of the day, Andrew didn't have these kids out of I don't know if it's out of wedlock. He didn't have all these kids before. It wasn't him. He gets attacked for marrying the person. As he showed, and maybe there's more clips, he hasn't really played on that same, thought process as the other people in the Red Pill has. But I believe Rachel, when she does debates, the way she attacks women, which is usually more harsh than him, and he's even specified and said this before. Oh, you did it now you got Rachel on you. And oh man, when Rachel comes with us, we'd be like, people watch a Crucible, we'd be like, oh yeah, wouldn't that work? She's about to cook, just for the sake of entertainment, of course. And you don't hear, at least I've never heard her much really come out using this as a frame of the conversation. And if it's truly to help, let's say, it would really help if people realize that you're showing empathy, not sympathy, by saying, hey, I've been through it, I felt it, I've dealt with it, so when I tell you this stuff, it's from experience. Wouldn't that help much more than just looking at it from the optics and say, well, stop being an or just stop early and not have a bunch of kids? Sure, anyone could tell you anything. Usually people hear the message from people that have experienced the situation. So it's almost a discernment for her not coming out with it as much as she should, bringing it up as a situation, right? So that's once again where I feel the hypocrisy is leaning on. It's not so much that they went off and hit it. It's like they kind of tried to just, act like it wasn't like this. Like it's there, they've looked at it, so they're looking at something, but like just let's just do this. That makes any sense if you get where I'm going.
And speak on them from experience, as well as with stats and data and things like this. So this is an absurd attack, and it's a hoax attack. It's complete nonsense. This isn't what I do at all.
Malarkey!
I don't sit around and berate women because they're single moms. I will definitely go after women's worldviews if they're advocating that single motherhood is some type of like good conditional that you should be trying to strive towards. And yes, there are women who say that because they're insane. But it's never been my position to do that. That's absurd. And if I'm lying, show the clip. Show the clip. You can't because there isn't one. And the problem,
that is a confident claim, and I am leaning on it because, like, at the top of my head, I can't think of one. I objectively am going off of just the flow, the optics, right? The optics will lead you to believe there probably is one. But just like the DoorDash girl and not having that door closed image or clip, despite what everyone's saying, it probably doesn't exist because he really doesn't attack the same way everyone else does. He is just the cool kid who's the nerd that chills with the gangsters, if that makes any sense. So guilty by association, but he actually the one that be showing them how to do their math and stuff so they can pass school and not get grounded, so their parents will allow them to go outside and still do the debaucherous stuff that they. You get where I'm going? Did that example land? That land, was that a good one? I don't know, but he landed. So far, we got a little bit left, guys. Let's see what the last thing is. Online seethers and haters. Who cares about those? Let's go to the final thoughts.
Many times I've worked issues out with these people and never spoken about them again. And then when they feel like the opportunity is right, they begin gunning for me again because these people were never there to work out issues. They don't care about what's true. They don't care about what's false. They don't care about any of that. They only care about one thing: get the Wilsons. Now, I understand that, and that's going to be a culture which is around me perceivably for the rest of my online career. And there's not ever anything I'm going to be able to ultimately do about that. I'm just kind of fine with it. That comes with the territory. But I did want the audience to note that, and anybody watching this video, that I am willing to take on my critics, and I'm one of the few streamers who does this often. Right? It's just that most of my critics are not willing to take on me. Right? All they want to do is hyper focus on getting personal information from me so that then they can begin to do attack campaigns against people who I'm interpersonally connected to, which is why I don't take those debates. Andrew, let's debate about personal life from 18 years ago or 17 years ago or, whenever. No thanks. No thanks. That's all designed to make me have to produce counterfactuals and counter evidence, which then puts people's identities at risk. And then that will begin a brand new source of a harassment campaign for these people.
I believe he's talking about Tree of Logic. I think she's been on the forefront of kind of putting out the information. She's the one that kind of put out that expose with all the information. And I get him. I really do feel him because I reacted to that. And I was going to post a bit. In my heart of hearts, I felt like it was distasteful. I did. I was a little angry at the time because just something he said kind of peeved me. And then once you kind of put me in that zone, it's like all gloves are off. I don't give a fuck. But then even then, I sat on it. Pause. And I'm like, yo, one part of it really touched me in a way, like, pause, just really hurt me in a way. Like, I just didn't want to hear it. It was very sad. I'm not even going to bring it up again. It was just very sad. It turned my stomach. And then at that point, I'm like, I really don't want it about it because like they're probably going through that. That's something you're never going to get over. Like, rest in peace. That's all I'm going to say, genuinely. So that I didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it. And it's been keeping me away from posting it because I just felt like it was distasteful. I get him. Debate what he does online. Debate him attacking individuals. Get at the hypocrisy if you believe it's hypocrisy. It's why I want to do a response to this response. But to get into a debate to prove this slander, whether it's true or not, about personals, that's just crazy on the internet. You wouldn't do it in real life if someone brought up something. Here, heard this, you're gonna walk off. I'm not even gonna give you anything. Whatever you think you know, okay, sure, there it is. You got it from where you think you got it from, and it was legitimate. Why are you talking to me about it? Why do you want me to overly affirm that? It just seems off, right? It just seems off. So I do get that. Right? And even for myself, I will apologize in the moment for even coming at with. I had a certain energy at the time. It was right after hearing some borderline racist shit that I felt like he was saying, right? And it was aligning with a lot what this right-winged individuals are kind of spewing right now. So then I always think, even though you may not bring it up, if I hear an inkling of it, you're probably in those groups too. That's what I assume. I think Brian's in those groups. I do. I'll tell you that much. I believe Brian is in those right-wing. Blacks are hurting white people. We need to, get the country back again. He's a part of that shit. And I was almost thinking by proxy, Andrew was too as well. I would assume and hope, since he is a Christian man, that is so antithetical to the faith, you are just fucking yourself and damning yourself to hell. Just walking in the flesh to that degree. Caring about color when it's about spirit, especially when the spiritual warfare is going on in the world right now. If he truly is a follower, right? Which I do believe he is. So that's where I was at. I was just conflicted, almost like a brother in the faith. Was just moving very, very weird to the point where, are you actually of the faith? But I very quickly realized that is not the case. Why I didn't post any of the videos. Why the first one I'm going to post is this response. Why I think this was a sound-minded response. You may not have gotten the answers that you were looking for if you did follow the Tree of Logic lining, but as he says here, you're never going to get those because that's too personal. Way too personal, right? It's a smear campaign, and it's whether it could be legit or not, whether you're pulling it from government websites, whatever the case may be, it's a smear campaign. It is. right? And it's a bit distasteful now in hindsight when I'm looking at it. It really is. Is she in her right if they both been going back and forth and they're beefing? You don't get to choose how low someone's gonna go. I will also say that you don't get to choose how low someone's gonna go. I'm not speaking from a factor of right or wrong. It's just you go poking at a bear. The bear's not going to poke you back. It's gonna fucking maul you. So you don't poke a bear. That's all I'm saying. So there's the response. You know, of course, if you want to rewatch it on his channel, I think I did a good reaction, allowing him to speak, giving my tidbits in between. So let me know what you guys think. Put in the comments below. Did he land? Did the plane safely land? And he's in the clear. I don't feel like he attacked the main situation as much as we wanted him to, and which was the Charlie situation. But I think it's also there's not really much more to say. In order to do that, you would have to go into his personals, which he's not going to do. So he did, I guess, do a good job showcasing that through his other debates or being on the podcast. He has not slandered women for the things that his wife has done to the degree or to the angles that everyone is saying. And everything that he has said about the situation makes perfect sense. It's very sound-minded. Every guy thinks this and every guy knows this. The whole, I don't want to take care of someone else's kid. Like, come on, bro. You know that's what we all think, bro. It is what it is. That's biological. Right? And then there's also the baby daddy's going to be involved. He's still going to be in the life. And even if you dated someone who has kids, right? Playing that's not even necessarily bad if you guys both understand that, hey, like, I ain't trying to be your kid's fucking new dad type of shit. We just kind of chilling. You just so happen to have kids. That's one thing. There's different avenues, right? Maybe they're okay with that because they're not trying to bring someone around their kids. They're still trying to raise them single, but they want some dick or they just want some companionship. There's a multitude of reasons, right? So I think he landed. You guys let me know. You put it in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. I'm very happy that he made this because I think this puts it to a close. To dig any further, it's going to be for the memes, the jokes, the laughs, which is fine. That's the internet. But I wouldn't be digging deep into this guy's life right now, man. And my teeth look like they're freaking radiating. It's because the freaking light. Like, if someone knows how to fix this, I have a shitty green screen that doesn't light up properly because I don't have enough lights. I'm freaking light inept. Then help me out in the comments too as well.